there? Go ahead and tell who. The guy up first. Who? The guy first base. Who? The guy first. Who is on first? What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
What's up, everybody? This is Tim Ellerbrook. Thanks for listening to this episode of Who is on First. I'm with my buddies Brian and Michael. We're going to talk some ball. Before we get started, I'm going to throw you our social medias. You can find us on Twitter, X, YouTube at WOFBB Podcast. So make sure to subscribe. Leave us some comments. Nobody's leaving them, so I guess nobody's doing it right now, but I would love them to. That would be awesome. We just like talking ball, so make sure to let us know. How you guys doing?
Doing well outside of my Cubbies lost today, so.
Yeah, it's a tough series for them, but
right now.
I attribute that more to just Wrigley being Wrigley with the wind.
Agreed.
And the heat.
Yeah.
I don't think we can take that factor out of the ball.
That's fair.
It's been
Nobody
ugly.
wants to be.
Yeah, 106 on the field today in St. Louis.
Holy cow, I didn't know that.
Now you know
Probably
why.
feels worse than that, too, because I will say, like, St. Louis, it is so much hotter here since that big apartment complex went up some
Blocks
years
all
back.
the
It blocks
wind.
all the wind that
Yeah.
comes in.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's so true.
It's so hot now.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the sun the way either because the way
Correct.
way it rises and falls.
And that's why Ellie threw up yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't
We were
say that
talking
I
about that
blame
earlier.
him.
No.
Well, earlier too, I guess it was yesterday's game at Wrigley. The ump had to get rushed to the hospital because of heat exhaustion or something.
Dehydrated, yeah. Yep.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy times.
Guys, this episode is going to be fun. I think we're just going to talk ball for a bit and go until we get bored. So we're going to talk
buckle
about.
up? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, buckle up. The first thing we're going to talk about, we're just going to kind of recap the week. I thought that would be fun. There's some cool things that happened this week and some drama, but I'll start us off. Something from the week that is currently sticking out to me. Well, I guess the Cubs game's over officially.
Yep.
As we started.
Yeah.
Correct.
Kyle Rowley hit, 5 home runs in a 3-game series? Is it 4?
I think it's
I
4.
believe.
4.
Yeah.
And currently on pace for 68 now, I think.
Unbelievable.
Dumper.
Which, who knows what the pace is actually going to turn
Correct.
out, but 31 home runs. I think it's 31 officially.
Yeah.
Yep.
As of today, right?
Correct.
31 home runs by June 22nd.
Yeah. Most ever
It's
by a catcher before
crazy.
the All-Star
Most
break.
ever by a switch hitter also.
Oh, I didn't
Oh,
know
really?
that.
Saw that. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the thing I pointed out in our text group is that the Cubs should have gone after him instead of
Gosh.
anybody else because apparently he really likes Wrigley.
My goodness. Guy may go for 100 home runs in a year at Wrigley.
Something that I think would be interesting is Judge hit 62, right, in 2022. That was the
Yes.
because
Yeah.
61 was the original AL
Correct.
record, right? So he was on pace to break it already, but even more so. Do you guys think he can actually get to the 70 or 72 mark that Bond set?
It'll be unbelievably difficult to get there.
You don't think there's any AL ballparks that kind of like him coming to Wrigley that
Yes,
will help?
I do. And he actually has one in his division, and that is out there in Sacramento.
Sacramento, yeah.
Yes. And when he goes
and
out there to play,
'cause,
that'll be
I
a fun
mean,
one to watch.
I would say he should rake out there. But I don't know. I mean, that's just such a – we talked about it the other day, like what happened with Sosa and McGuire and those guys. Like, you haven't seen anything like that. Like, that's why it was so impressive when Judge went on the run he did a couple years ago, because we just don't see that these days.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of what you're watching right now, especially from him. Not only obviously, like, I think you have to put in context too that he's catching every day, so he's managing, the starting rotation.
Yep.
He's behind the plate. He's
Top
a
5
heck of
starting
I was gonna
rotation,
say,
too.
heck of a defender. Like, and he's keeping all that intact.
He won the Platinum Glove too, right?
Platinum
Yes.
last year.
Yeah. So while now batting 270, 30 home runs already,
He's
but
underpaid.
vastly. He is going to get some money. Adley who? I'm just
Yeah.
saying. But I kind of agree with you, Michael, in that. I don't know that he'll be able to chase down the likes of Bonds just because I think where he plays at home, obviously in Seattle, it's a pitcher-friendly ballpark. It's going to be a little bit more challenging for him to get these runs, and it becomes infinitely harder when you're talking about when you go to some places where now, like with Wrigley, where you have to have 4 or 5 home runs in a series just to kind of keep that pace going. You see what I'm saying? And so it's going to be fun to watch. Like if he even remotely gets to the point where he's close to that 62 mark, I know, again, Judge is doing some stupid things still on his side and is amazing, but I would almost be like, you've got to award this guy MVP
100%.
just because of that
100%.
nature
100%.
of playing both sides in that
no one's
regard
taking
to
that
the
away from
level.
him.
Well, and you got to look at it, too, that maybe he gets on a heater this summer. Like
he is
he's
right now.
already hit a bunch
Right.
already this year, but the hot weather, those balls are going to start flying. If he lands, goes out to Cincinnati, New York, a couple of these other places that are pretty friendly down the lines and stuff. I mean, maybe he has a couple 4 home run weekends and stuff, and all of a sudden you're looking up and he's sitting at 40 before the All-Star break. It's like, I mean, come on.
So I just pulled this Savant page up and looked at the home runs by park. You're onto something there. He would have 34 if he played all these games in Sacramento. But the other high one, he would have under 30 at the rest of them, except for Houston. He would have 32.
Yeah.
But he's got 31 and hasn't played. I guess he's probably played Houston and Sacramento
I
so
would
far
assume so.
in their parks.
Now, I don't
'cause they
know
were
if they've
division.
played in their parks yet. I
Correct.
can't remember if they still have,
He would only have 17 in Wrigley.
I'm telling you, Wrigley, it's a weird one out there.
Well, you got to think like Wrigley. What's fun about Wrigley is like you have
27 in Cincinnati.
weekends like this
Yep.
where the wind is
Yeah.
just blowing straight out.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
20
right,
miles
right.
an hour, like routine fly balls become home runs.
Correct.
But then in a week, it's going to be blowing in
Yep.
from left, and it's
Yeah.
just going to cause haywire
Everything dies.
on the ball going out of the ballpark. It's just more of you drop the ball because you can't track
You'll
it.
see a ball come off the bat at 120 and it gets to the track. And
Right.
it's like the launch angle, everything was there, but the wind said no.
Yeah. I think nonetheless, it's to your point, catching and switch hitter, and he's actually an elite defender as well.
Correct.
Just the fact, I wouldn't shy away from him being in Seattle because that right field wall, if he pulls a lot of them,
Yeah.
he could sneak some out. Kind of, it's obviously not Yankee Stadium right field wall, but
Right.
I happened to pull up a Seattle game and the home run barely got over the wall, and it's like 330
Sure.
or
Yeah.
something like that, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
But the air,
Right.
The air there
It
is
dies a
different,
lot there. I mean, again, he's got some favorable opportunities because he goes to Anaheim for LA to play there. He's got Houston, which we know is a hitter-friendly ballpark if you're going to pull the ball.
Yeah.
Either way. So really for him, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
get the Crawford boxes or the short
Yep.
right field. I'm sure they still have a series with the Yankees.
Yep.
There's going to be advantages for him. I think it's just the difficulty of playing every day behind the plate. But I mean, he's proven me wrong to this point. And I mean, I'm rooting for him. Like, I would love nothing more than to see a guy get out there and hit 75 home runs. And now all of a sudden we're talking about that.
has he played? Do you know how many games into the season we are right now? Like
Gosh.
what the
77 ish.
so he's played 74. So he's sat out 3, which to play 150 plus games as a catcher, that's work. I've only
Yep.
ever known one player to ever do that. Yeah.
It's few and far between.
But to have that much offensive production, so
Correct.
you got to take into consideration: is he going to be able to play enough games to do all of it? Because Judge played 150 plus that
Right.
season.
Well, and I think you might be thinking the same thing, Michael. I think he's going to see time at DH.
Yep.
Like I would not be surprised. I'm not real sure. I'd have to
Yeah.
look at their roster.
he's at the 2 and at the DH. So he
Yeah,
catches.
I mean, I think you're going to see that play out a little bit more. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if I don't know what their roster looks like. I can't remember who their backup catcher is at the moment. I'll try and look that up. But it's one of those things where I think you might even be surprised where they go out and find another legit catcher at the deadline to be able to let him get a little bit more reps at the DH spot
Yeah.
to keep him more fresh. And if
Correct.
that happens and he can keep that
Mitch
bat
Garver.
rolling, like it's going to be good. Yeah, see, that's the problem, in my opinion. You've got Garver, who is, an aging veteran. I mean, still really good with the bat.
He had
And
a
I
big
think,
bomb, a 3-1 bomb yesterday.
yeah, and I think they both just kind of
Sorry.
rotate, that DH role when the other's not catching
Yeah,
type of
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
And so, I think that might become problematic because if he's got to be the majority catcher, which again, it's hard not to put him there because of platinum glove.
Yep.
And so he
Pitching
controls
staff
the running
knows him
game.
well,
yeah,
yeah.
he controls the pitching stat, all of that. And so that's where it's just harder on a catcher. You don't typically see that offensive production and the defensive. I mean, you're talking about a marriage of Buster Posey and Yadier Molina,
Yep.
and you just
Yeah.
don't see that.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the power of Aaron Judge.
Not to belabor the point, Salvi is the home run leader of a catcher position, right? At 40 something.
Yeah.
And
He's going to blow past that.
below pass.
Yeah.
Something interesting, and I'll wrap this one up. Last year he hit 34 home runs, and the year before that he had just hit 30. So he's already at his career high in June. That's kind of a wild jump. Where'd that come from? I don't know. That's interesting. And then if he falls back last year, it's like
I don't know.
2025 is a weird
honestly
year
don't.
with all those dead balls.
I can tell you this much. There is enough people out there that have definitely been drug testing that man for every
I'm not
week
saying that.
this year.
I just think baseball is weird like that.
It's one of those things, man. Like we talked about, Adley Rutschman was fully ascending 3 years ago as to be kind of
This
even maybe a
guy.
potential
Right.
face of the franchise,
Yep.
face of the league type of guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, Cal has just been kind of consistently climbing up that ladder. The piece I think could be interesting. So they are right in the hunt of the playoffs right now.
5 games back of Houston.
Does that push him to catch more games and
Right.
say, hey, we're in September. We can't afford for me to take this start that I'm supposed to, have a day off or something like. No, it's September 2nd.
game, yeah.
I got to play.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And
Until he gets too tired and needs rest, like we keep talking about.
yeah, where's it coming? I mean,
It
I don't
kind
know.
of screams to me. It makes me think of the Griffey seasons where they had like this historic
Start.
stuff going on, and then the playoffs they were just like,
Correct.
Yeah, and and the downside to someone like him, obviously, because you're not the Dodgers, so you don't get the media
Yep.
attention and things like that. And so, like you said, Michael, quietly he's been building success and building on. I mean, his defense was there.
Yep.
His bat is turning this corner, and I mean, I'm glad he's getting the limelight
Right.
now. But it's because he's on the West Coast, so a lot of the East Coast people are in bed before they ever get an opportunity
Yeah.
to see him and all of this stuff. And now it's like, man, let's put this guy on the front page.
Yep.
Let people see his highlights because
interleague
I
play
mean,
helps out a ton.
tremendously,
100%,
definitely.
tremendously. And I mean, it's just fun to watch. And again, to this point, it looks like he's an absolute quality guy too.
Yep.
It's like if I'm Seattle, if I'm MLB, this run he's on,
Yep.
I'm drawing into it, and I'm building on this Father's Day success of
Yep.
attendance and all that stuff with this guy.
Well, if I'm Seattle, I'm ecstatic because Julio Rodriguez was supposed to be doing what he's doing right now. And
So
Julio's
true.
been kind of rough, the last 2 years. But in this time, I'd be talking to Julio like, the pressure's not on you at all.
Right.
Cal has got all the pressure on him. We need you to become that guy again. Take the pressure off your back. But to Seattle's point, they're also going to need Julio to step up because
Yeah.
Cal can't carry that load for the entire
Not by
team.
himself. I mean, you saw Polanco step in for
Correct.
a little bit at the beginning of the season, and they're having some other people like Garver's gone on a bit of a run here lately to help be that B player, that
Right.
kind of Robin to the Batman. But really, it should be, you're right, it should be Rodriguez and Raleigh just leading the way.
Correct. Because, what we saw in the World Series last year was the Dodgers and the Yankees just had the most talented rosters, and the big dogs showed up.
Yeah.
That's what you have to have.
Well, except for the fifth inning.
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
Taking us down, keeping us on the West Coast, taking us down. Anything with Devers that sticks out to you? I know he hit the home run against Boston, but the first game struck out, went 0 for 5, 0 for 4,
0 for 5.
0 for 5. But then he hit a 2-run bomb yesterday, and I haven't watched the game today at all or paid attention to that one. But I think that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what he does this season. I know you mentioned before we started that he is going to go off in that park because of the, what's that called? Not the porch, but what do they call that?
Just
The water.
the bay that's
yeah,
out there.
Yeah, but it's called a specific name.
Oh, McCovey's co.
McCovey Covey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's not a like crazy pull hitter to me.
No, and his
Yeah,
home
but
run was to left field.
Yeah.
To me, he's going to be finding a lot of runs out there in center field.
Yes.
The gaps are going to go crazy
Yeah.
for that dude. His RBIs are just going to shoot up through the roof.
Yeah.
And for the
triple
Giants,
Allen
they now
or
have a serious power bat when he wants to be in that lineup that can just drive in runs all day. Like,
Yeah.
go get on bags. He will drive you in.
I mean, their center fielder, Lee.
Young-Hoo Lee.
Yeah, I mean,
He is awesome.
He gets to be in front of Devers.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of fun, like Michael's saying, when Devers gets on that roll and he's finding that right center field gap. Don't be surprised if even for Devers, you see a couple triples out of the man because he's playing with that right
I don't
center
know,
field
man.
gap.
He hit-
I mean, he may give up on it and just stop at second.
First game,
but
he hit one into Triples Alley, I think is what it's called. And dude, he barely made it.
right,
to
he just
second.
slowed up. Like you could see, it's like a pure jog.
I mean, I like him. He's a pure hitter. And I think he will do well in
It's one of those things. I think the change of scenery had to happen, and it's probably the best place he could have landed, truthfully, because it's a team that does have some light on it, but it's not the Dodgers, it's not the Yankees, not even the Mets over the last couple of years. It's the Giants, a team that we keep hearing they're trying to make noise, but they just haven't signed that big guy. Well, now they have that big guy.
and it probably helps him sign more people.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
it helps Adamas even now.
Yep.
He started off slow. He gets to
he's
step
getting better.
right in front of Devers. He's going to see a ton of fastballs just because they're not going to want to put anybody on base in front of Devers. And so
100%.
I think you're going to see him start to climb out of this little offensive funk that
Yeah.
he's appeared to be in from switching teams.
Yeah, that's like classic first free agent year kind of thing at a new place. I feel like, I mean, you look at Juan Soto this year, he's having his worst career year. And I mean, it's still a great career year.
Right.
But worst career year in a new place with so much pressure.
Yeah.
I like Adamas, though. I think he'll be fine. But Devers helping Adamas helps Lee, too.
Yep.
Oh, 100%. That's why I said
trickle-down
that.
effect.
And you both have said it. That lineup just gets infinitely deeper and stronger. And the fact that you don't even have Chapman yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Chapman comes back, and not that his bat is necessarily his go-to thing as it once was, but he's that clutch guy that when you need something, he's that crafty veteran that's going to come in, play a solid third base, Gold Glove-esque third base, and then but also is going to show up in key games with the bat.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, they're going to be someone that you have to pay attention to. And if you're the Dodgers, and I've said this multiple times, but their butts got a little bit tighter when Devers went out to San Francisco. Even with all the talent that they have, the loss of pitching is amplified now because you have a division rival that's got hitters in place.
I'm really watching that entire division to see what they're doing because, like we were talking earlier with Arizona, I mean, with Burns going down, that really changes the trajectory of that season because they're still actually in a decent spot for a potential run to get a wild card spot. They're probably not chasing down the division just because I think the three other teams ahead of them are most likely going to hold point there. But like, what does San Diego and Los Angeles do to counter this punch now? Because, I mean, we were already talking before the season. San Diego's looking at trading Cease away.
Right.
Do they hold on to him now or trade him for a different
AJ
arm?
Preller's a weird man.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens here.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, Diamondbacks are sitting one game above 500. And even before we came on air, I talked about it. It's like, it's crazy to look at that and go, I think they're going to be sellers at the deadline just because they need to change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's interesting to me because, again, this division is just fun to watch. I mean, the Dodgers are still the Dodgers. Like, nothing has changed. I believe Shohei started today.
Yeah. He
again.
had like a 40 pitch count or something.
Yeah, I mean, nothing crazy. So it's like he's building to
I think
come
he's
back.
going to be an opener for like a month.
Yeah,
Probably.
I don't anticipate anything crazy, but again, the Dodgers are doing what they do. They find these young arms that they kind of spot start, pull them up, send them down, pull another guy up, send them down.
Yeah, it's like throw him out on the mound and then we'll snip his arm, go get another one.
Yeah, and then, like I said, come September, Snell's going to come back healthy.
Yeah.
Goslin's going to be back healthy. And
I don't know about
Glasnow's going to be back healthy.
Yeah.
And it's all of a sudden you're
Every
like,
time you say one of those names, I'm like,
right.
Will they be healthy? I don't know.
Right. We'll see. But, it's just one of those things. But like,
yeah. If you, sorry, go ahead.
no, if you're the Diamondbacks, like, why not capitalize on the fact? I know, yes, maybe you get on a tear like you did a couple years ago, make the run. But I think it's you, Tim. You talk about this a lot. I think for the Diamondbacks, they could actually sell and get better.
100% agree.
And so
okay, but you guys talked about Marte being a sell piece. That doesn't make them better, in my opinion.
but I
they're
think
not
they
going
can
to
get better.
But there's not a second baseman that can take over to be just as productive.
To me, the pieces that are going to bring in some talent this year are their two corner pieces. Marte is a stretch just from the fact that you're right. There's probably not a second baseman. You're looking at just like, oh, this second baseman's better, but the haul they could get for him could potentially bring in.
Yeah.
But with Josh Naylor and with Suarez, both, because Suarez is going off this year.
He's going somewhere.
Cannot believe that man's got 300 career home runs. I saw that like 2 days ago. I was like, whoa, really? But Yankees, we've been talking about Nato as like all of a sudden Suarez is there.
Suarez is going to be on the Yankees.
And then Naylor, where does he land? Because, I mean, those are the two pieces that are expendable. Those aren't your young pieces. Those are the pieces you brought in.
You can't forget the pitching, too. That
Yeah.
they could,
They could
they're two
Well,
starters.
So I've seen they're talking about Merrill Kelly, and Zach Gallen both, which these are
Zach
two
Gallen,
vets
I
that
feel
have
like
been
is
there
a
a long
guarantee.
time.
Yeah.
Kelly, I
but-
don't see him getting rid of because they.
Yeah, but you could get something out of him because of what he's doing
Correct.
this year. Gallen's the one I'm more concerned about because he's down.
Yeah.
You might not get what you would hope to get out of an arm like that.
Correct. If you traded him 2 years ago, you're talking you were probably going to get some elite talent back because he was pitching at a super high level. He's very similar to Sandy Alcantara right now.
Yes.
Like Sandy 2 years ago was electric.
Yeah.
Right now he's got a 7 ERA. So
Yeah,
It's
but
a risk.
He's turning around.
Trust me.
lately.
As a guy, I kind of want to trade for.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's one that I think a lot of people might be in play for.
Correct.
Coming to that, for me, and I said it before we got on, like if I'm the Diamondbacks GM, or even in this case, I'll throw out Houston's GM, I think there's a marriage to be made here where if the Diamondbacks are ready to say, hey, this season's really just kind of a wash, not in the sense of like we're going to just get rid of everything to completely rebuild, but we need a reset. And so the playoffs, if we get there, awesome, but that's not the goal this year.
Yep.
I'm looking at Marte because you are going to get an absolute haul for him.
Should.
And like I said, I'm calling Houston because I think Marte fits the key to Houston. And I would even go as far as going, would you consider sending Yordan Alvarez over for Marte and really kind of have this blockbuster deal? Now, I don't know where Houston sits or feels about Alvarez because that is a tough pill to swallow. That would be like the Devers moving on, if you're a Boston fan. But at the same time, what you're getting back in return right now makes you legit. And what Houston's doing without Alvarez in the lineup right now tells me they have enough to make another deep playoff run. Now, Alvarez could come back and just make that so much better, right?
Yeah, I mean, the playoffs without him would be
weird.
Right.
To swallow.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at, let's say Alvarez doesn't get thrown into that, and you can just throw Marte in front of Alvarez.
Yeah.
You're talking that guy's going to have 40 RBIs in the first two series of the playoffs. But I think Houston realizes their window is closing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're trying to extend that.
Yeah.
You go out and get a guy like that. I think that extends it another year or two. For Arizona, are we looking at a Detroit situation where this is a team that was sitting kind of wild card-ish, right? Just below the playoff picture, and then all of a sudden they sent away a couple of veteran pitchers, a couple of pieces. Young guys finally got a chance to come in because that's the piece. Arizona really is set up for the next few years already with their young outfielders and some of their other young players. It's the two corner pieces that are vets that they just brought in out of, from wherever. And then they've got a couple of veteran pitchers. But if they could flip those into younger pitchers, then they're really set up for maybe a 10-year window rather than probably a 4 or 5 with the pitching staff that they currently have.
Right. And that's my thing. You look at Houston, if I know you just acquired Josh Naylor, but if you turn that around and call Boston, go, hey, I know you're in need of a first baseman. We got a guy that will play first because that's what he does, and he hits.
Yep, would be a great fit in Boston.
Right?
Big. Yep.
Give me a couple of these prospects.
Yeah.
That maybe even one of the ones you just picked up from
Not a bad call.
Although
San Francisco that you've got sitting in AAA, and Harrison, just kind of bring him in because we would like that left-handed arm in our rotation.
I don't know if there's anything to this, but players going from the AL to the NL. I think a Goldie leaving the NL to go to the AL, and he's taken off. Now he's hitting with Judge in the lineup, so that makes a difference. But Naylor coming from the AL, where he started to really fall off in Cleveland, is taken off coming to the Diamondbacks. Is it the team? Is it the league? The schedule is just different. You're seeing more people.
Yeah.
So him going back to Boston and going back to the AL, I don't know that. Teams are smarter than me when it comes to that stuff, so I don't know if that has anything. If there's anything to that.
I mean, it's just. I mean, again, it's fun to speculate, and there's probably some owners out there that are going, "Dear God, I would not want this guy as my GM if he's going to propose stuff like that." But at the same
I make
token,
those moves on OTP all day.
right, exactly. I mean, give me MLB The Show 25. I make these moves all day long. But. Because there is something to say about clubhouse feel. I mean, there all those things when you're present with the team, you get a better sense for that. So I don't like in Houston, to give an example, I don't know how they feel about Alvarez. So I know he's injury prone to a degree. I know he wants to play left, but he's not really an above average defender. And so they don't necessarily want him in left. And it screams Devers all over again. And it's like, do you go ahead and make a move like that now to save yourself maybe more than what Boston did? Now, Boston got out of it because they didn't have to eat any money.
Yeah.
But if Houston ends up having to pay Alvarez.
And they got good prospects for it. That was a wild trade.
Right.
The only thing for me is Jordan, that's the face of their franchise. That's all that's left
But
is
is
him and
he?
Altuve. It's just the two of them.
Altuve is. I would give you Altuve.
Yeah,
Jordan
but
is like, yes, he's clutch. Don't get me wrong. His playoff run puts him on another level. But I think if you bring the right piece back in for him, there in Houston, he is replaceable at this point. And to Michael's point, in my opinion, would be you get an extended run opportunity here with Altuve still. And you can let Altuve ride off in the sunset as this GOAT that your social media is trying to make him out to be right now. And you still have quality team that's left over.
You have the team that is actually in picture to make a run for the World Series again. Their pitching is elite. Jeremy Pena is playing at a super high level right
100%.
now.
Crazy.
Altuve, another very clutch performer in the playoffs for most of his career.
Right.
Ton
Even
of
without
playoff
the trash
experience.
can.
Correct. Even without the trash can, he's still showing
Shots.
up. Isaac Paredes is having a phenomenal year. Knew it was going to happen.
Exactly.
They've got some other young players.
Yeah, Cam Smith is starting
Cam
to take
Smith's
off.
figuring it out.
I mean,
I think they have a good system and a good coaching system. The only thing that throws me, Houston's going to have to sell at some point because their farm is completely depleted.
Right.
Yep.
They have I don't think because Cam Smith came from the Cubs.
Correct.
So it wasn't even an original prospect, but they
Right.
don't have anybody in the top 100.
Yep.
Right. Most of their guys, the guys that were the keys are up now.
Yeah.
The Hunter Browns, the Gustos that are now pitching for them, DeZenzo, who's playing left and right for them a little bit. Like that was their prospect.
Yep.
So they're not super old everywhere, but they are aging in spots. Now, Alvarez does not age them because he's a younger tool. But again, if he is going to be like Devers in the sense of I need to play, I don't know that it fits your team right now.
Yep.
I just confirmed they don't have anybody in the top 100. The other thing to me, I was pulling up the wild card stuff when we were talking about Arizona. The National League wild card is crazy right now. Everybody's within 1 to 3 games of each other, and the Mets and Phillies are completely tied. So one of them's in the division, one of them's the
Top wild card.
top wild card. Then you have San Francisco, Milwaukee, San Diego, and St. Louis, all within a game of each other.
Ridiculous.
Cincinnati's
great, yeah.
3 out, and Arizona's 3.5, and then you have Atlanta. So we're counting Atlanta out at this point because
It would take a monumental run.
And they
I'm
can
not
do it.
right.
A Mets run.
Right. And I'm not
Yes, it
saying
would
I
take a
would
Mets
not
run.
put it past that team.
100% agree.
And so San Francisco, who is they're in the second place right now. They're 43 and 34, so they're 9 games above 500. So Arizona is one game, and so they're gonna have to go. They're gonna have to do what St. Louis did.
Yeah.
in May,
You got to go on a,
which we
7,
did.
8 game win streak.
So it's technically still possible.
And
San Diego is playing really weird, man.
I
for a
would say
while.
Arizona has a better offense, or at least higher potential offense than what St. Louis does. So, I
Yeah.
mean, they just need some quality pitching.
Who is it?
Arizona.
He's
Yeah.
just-
Yeah.
When you look on paper, compare.
Yep.
I mean, Perdomo's
They have
having
the
a
highest
solid
payroll
year.
Much
they've
better
ever had.
year.
Right.
I remember reading that the other day.
Carroll's doing Carroll things. Like, I mean, so like they have pieces in place. That's why I said, like, and again,
Fox kind of is really down right now.
their pitching is what's hurting them
Yeah.
right now. Like,
is
that's
Eugenio even not Eugenio, but
Henio
no.
Suarez?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce his name?
Henio.
Eugenio. The lefty, right? That came
Or
from
are you
Detroit.
talking pitchers?
Yes.
No.
Who's the lefty that
he's
came
the
from-
third baseman.
Oh,
You're
no,
talking
yeah.
about Rodriguez.
Yes. Is he hurt or is he pitching?
He's supposed to be coming back.
Yeah.
Oh, coming back.
Mhm.
So he's been hurt every year. So yeah, man, the rotation is
Yeah, it's been killing
it's
him.
mess.
Right. That's been the downfall. And so that, like, again, I'm not saying it's ideal, but you look at like Suarez, you look at Naylor, especially maybe even like, Merrill Kelly, somebody like that you make a move and you give a younger individual an opportunity to fill that role. It may surprise you because the talent level may not, or the production, I should say, may not be as far off as what you're getting.
Yep.
And if it's a tick better, does that mean they do go on these win streaks, i.e. Detroit last year? I mean, they made some moves, opened up a couple spots for some players to play, and it wasn't like those players were like elite superstars,
No.
but they were performing better than the veterans that were in that spot.
Yeah.
And that's what enabled them to get on this run. And I just look at Arizona as being able to do that same thing. They
100%
have,
agree.
and all the while picking up a couple other prospects to put in the system to continue to develop and move on. And then again, if you look at someone like Marte, that it could be an absolute haul in retooling your pitching staff. Even if you don't go the route to send him to Houston, you've already mentioned the Mets being an ideal fit
Yep.
Yeah.
for Marte. Go pull some of those pieces that the Mets
they would
have
to.
over.
They'd have to get rid of McNeil somehow, and they're paying him for like a couple more years. I don't know that they're the type of team that is going to just ship somebody off or like DFA. Because he doesn't seem like a trade candidate to me. I don't know. Do you
That
think
may end
McNeil's
up in
trade candidate?
a 3-team deal where
Yeah.
Jeff McNeil goes somewhere,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true.
he
That's
does
true.
end up getting DFA'd by that team, and then inevitably ends up on
Go
a
sign
playoff
on-
team.
yeah,
and
exactly. Go play for the Cubs.
yeah,
I'm
God,
just
I
throwing
don't
this
know.
out there, though. The wild card is shaping up to be exactly as my prediction.
It's early.
2-2-2.
Yeah,
It's early.
Arizona, to your credit, the Tigers piece last year. Now look where they're at.
Yeah.
And I think
Yep.
Arizona could do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
They moved Flaherty. Flaherty was having a good year, not a great year.
right.
Goes to the Dodgers, plays well for him.
Right.
Comes back and he's pitched well for them again.
right.
But Detroit,
That's a
because some
tribute
of
to their
these
system.
young players got actual consistent time. That's
Yeah.
the big piece. Is some of these guys are sitting on a bench. Cardinals, like we talked before the season
Right.
started, the Cardinals move some of these guys. You're probably going to get better.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I give you all the credit in the world, Tim.
Thank
when you
you.
talk about St. Louis, I mean, that is the thing. Like,
Yep.
you're legitimately right. The more and more we watch this, moving some of these veteran guys could make them better in the long run. Like, just because you look, like I look today, you look at someone like Sagasi, who's playing in the field. He's an elite defender, above average bat. You give him that opportunity to play. And again, nothing against Nato. Love the guy. Tremendous job on Saturday, but you don't lose as much defensively, but you gain offensively, at least for this year. and all of a sudden that becomes a different team, not only this year, but then you've given him half a year to play, and he comes back in the next season ready to go, understanding the adjustments that have to be made, and all of a sudden he goes on this run with your team.
Mm-hmm.
And then next year we're talking about the Cardinals. What in the world are they doing leading the National League in wins, law? It's like it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah. There are a few teams like that. The Rays the Rays have been doing that for
Right. I was gonna say, that's the Rays.
Boston's
right.
starting to turn into someone like that.
Yeah. Who would have thought getting rid of Devers actually catapulted their team?
What's funny
to win?
about them is we all picked them to be
correct. I mean,
in
they
the
looked
CS
like
and the World Series just because of the roster makeup.
Correct.
And they're kind of doing the same thing, getting enough kids. The only thing, I wonder what Trevor Story going to stay around the whole time.
Right.
He's not necessarily a tradable contract.
Right.
Could you see him get on a heater though, and a playoff team just says, "Give us, we need it."
Right.
We
need
need that power. Defender. We need that type of power.
Yeah.
To go for a World Series, because there's teams out there, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and stuff that
Mets.
are willing. The Mets are
you
willing
could
to
convince
go
him to
all
go back.
Boston aren't going to do that.
No,
True,
but
but
if you could convince the Mets and him to play second base beside Lindor,
Yep.
and have that bat in the Mets lineup, that then catapults them right back up, even with the Dodgers, in my opinion, with their lineup.
If I remember
mean,
correctly,
so-
he played second base early in his career
Yeah,
too,
he did.
because
Yeah, in
Tulo was still
Colorado.
there.
Exactly.
Now, since we're talking about that, you have Bo Bichette around.
Interesting piece.
Who is it's his last year in ARB, free agent next year. Great. I guess better,
Solid.
more
He's
than average
solid.
shortstop, above
Yeah.
average shortstop.
Yeah.
Great bat, fast. got
Great
speed.
bat. He's always one of the top hitters in the league.
Right.
So someone that needs a shortstop, I'm probably going after him than Story.
What's
Sure,
Toronto want
but-
for him though too?
Yeah, well,
Depends
Toronto's
on what
in the
you
wild
have to
card right now.
It depends on what you have to offer.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm kind of a person, I think, that's always like trade an asset even if it's going to like quote unquote hurt your team, only if you've got young players to take his place. If you don't have a young player to take his place, like in our case, I'm kind of on the edge with Ryan Helsley about this because we don't necessarily have a really good elite,
but we can do
high speed arm.
We can do the closer by committee for the rest of this year.
Remainder of the year, and one may
With
show
who?
themselves.
We're going to talk about this later, but like
right. But I think there's a number of arms. Depending, that would where it becomes matchup dependent. If you've got a team that chases the curveball a lot, Graceffo comes in.
Yeah, you could pull. You could pull the Tigers. Tigers are the blueprint for this now.
Right, and that's
Think
what I
about it.
mean. And so, because Helsley's value is going to be tremendous at the trade deadline. I think we would be foolish unless we're going to sign him to a long-term deal. There's no reason in the world you don't trade him and get assets.
100% agree. Because in his point, why would he stay around?
Yeah.
What is St. Louis showing him to say this is a team within 2 years is going to be in the World Series whenever some of those teams, if he's playing at a high level, are going to be calling saying, the Dodgers and some of these places, they will say, I'll give you this much money. We just need you to lock down one inning. It doesn't even always have to be the ninth inning. And sometimes it could be the eighth.
Yeah, they're not that type of team.
If you're having
to give
a
that
tough,
kind of money to that type of player. Although Houston just did it. I don't see the Cardinals doing that. Giving 80.
No,
Well,
I don't
100
see it either because you've got a lot
for
of young
closer?
pieces. We've talked about it. Roby could potentially come up next year and start as your closer and work his way into the starting rotation, similar to what Adam Wainwright did.
Yeah.
I don't know. The one piece we don't hit with the Tigers enough, I think, is the fact that they have probably the best coach in baseball. Because I wonder what Houston could have done in this run whenever they've been without him.
Right.
Because no knock on Dusty Baker. The guy's got 1 million wins in the MLB, but for a lot of years, he was one of the coaches that choked in the playoffs every year that he would get there.
Right.
And A.J. Hinch just seems to be a phenomenal coach.
Right. I agree. And it's like, you start looking at that because, man, it's amazing to me what opportunity is in front of teams like St. Louis, like Arizona, that it's not a true sell. It's not a sell in the sense of we're just going to go and
We're
be at the
rebuilding
bottom
completely.
for a couple
Yeah.
years and then we'll come back. We have an opportunity to sell here, get some assets that will create longevity while also maintaining success.
Yep.
And who knows if they hit like Detroit has hit,
Yep.
you become an elite team.
True.
Not based on, well, Detroit has one player that it is based around, and that is Scooble, which we can't knock because these other teams don't necessarily have that pitcher.
To be honest, that team would not be able to do what they're doing without him.
100%,
It's
yeah.
it's so based on the fact that they have an ace that's under control and cheap.
Correct. And it helps
And
that their
managed
other pitchers
by-
are really showing up.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then that's a credit to the system that they put together and how they're able to develop and teach. But I also think, to what your point, you guys were kind of saying, Hinch is the other piece that's making that helping to make that happen. Obviously, he doesn't play on the field, but
No, but coaches matter.
100%.
Their systems
100% they do.
matter.
It's kind of funny because
Cubs.
the Cubs 100%. I mean, they've had plenty of decent coaches over the years where they've been, around a playoff, but they've never gone on those deep runs. They bring in Joe Madden. All of a sudden, he starts pulling just the right pieces at the right time. And even a guy like that runs out at some point. But Hinch doesn't seem like he's got that kind of quirkiness that, like, not just the fact that Madden's a quirky manager style. Like, he just seems like he always pulls the right pieces. He is just
He's playing chess, man.
the perfect coach.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even know who to put in that number 2 spot really behind him, because it's like, well, you look at records, it's Dave Roberts, but it's not Dave Roberts in my
Hinch
opinion.
reminds me of Tony La Russa.
Yeah.
That style of coach where
That hurt you saying yes.
Well, Tony La Russa, I will say, was a phenomenal coach. All the off-field stuff obviously is goofy. But he developed. Albert Pujols was not a high-level guy when he first got there, and he unlocked something within him.
And that's what
part
I mean.
of that is unlocking
Like,
great
he
coaches
just
around
knew
you.
how to put the right people in the right places around him, and also he knew how to put a lineup together and get something out of players that you just didn't necessarily have the expectation. And I feel it's the same with like Hinch. I mean, because you look at the resurgence of Javi Baez.
Yep.
Unlocking something by saying, "Hey, I want you to go play center field."
Yeah.
I mean, the Pirates are trying that with Cruz, and it is going the complete opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like it can be something that just, take a struggling shortstop, put him in center field, and all of a sudden he becomes, all-star material again.
Well, go ahead.
I was just say leadership leaks, culture leaks. You can take a look at even the Cardinals this year and the culture on the team, and like we were all like, this is gonna be like this team's a 73, 76 win team, and like we've been above 500 since the beginning of May,
Right?
And you can look at all the players, and they're having a good time. They're playing really well. Arenado out of nowhere looks like he's someone that likes hanging out with young dudes. When before we were like, he had that one comment about there's too many young guys in the clubhouse.
Right.
So that stuff leaks, and Hinch the manager sets the tone. And the second thing about him, the dude plays so many bullpen games, and his bullpen is just healthy.
They just
And it's like, what?
Right.
Well, so he took a Houston team that was the worst in the league. Like, they were what the Rockies and the White Sox are doing this year
100%.
for like a 3 or 4 year run. That's why they got so good all of a sudden, because they had top tier players.
Right.
I think Baltimore would take
He developed
play.
these dudes.
Yeah.
Like nobody's business. Altuve, another one of those guys that it's like, when he was coming in, no one was going to say, this guy is going to be a Hall of Famer. He is too small. There's no way this guy sticks around. Sitting here now, the only thing outside of the trash can incident, Jose Altuve is a surefire Hall of Famer.
Oh, 100%.
And it's like, Carlos Correa, he used him to his peak. Move on. Now they got Jeremy Pena, some of these other young guys that have come in and stuff.
Okay, so how much is that attributed to Hinch, and how much is that attributed to what's his name that got pushed out of baseball? He was on the Cardinals, their GM.
I know who you're talking about. I can't
remember
his name.
but
so how much is because
it's a marriage.
It's a marriage. It
Yeah.
has to be perfect. The Cubs, once again, Theo, did it in Boston. He comes up and does it in Chicago. Like,
Right.
Yeah, you've got to have that GM with the right eye on that stuff. But if a coach does not develop these guys right or does not lead them, because some of these teams just don't
Yeah.
have that leader.
Leadership. Yeah.
Sometimes, like, to be honest with you, I look at the Cardinals right now and I'm like, I don't know who the leader of that team is because I don't think that most of the guys truly respect the head coach. I think he will be gone at some point. I look at with Goldschmidt gone, it was Goldschmidt, Notto's team. Now Notto's kind of in this weird spot. It's probably Wilson Contreras.
Yeah, I think him and
as
Donnie are probably
vocal,
the two guys.
the vocal leader.
Yeah.
But also you can't rely on that because Contreras is aging too.
Right.
You know, the next level, where does it go to? Does it go to Mason Witten? Does, you know, some of these other guys start to step up? I don't know who that guy in that locker room is going to be. To me, you know, the Cubs are going to go through something very similar. Can PCA actually be a leader?
Right.
Because right now
Do you think
he's
so?
very immature.
Yeah.
Which,
He's
I mean,
young.
he's 23, right?
Phenomenal player. I've thought for years Ian Happ was a guy that was very tradable. But I've come to realize over the last couple years, Ian Happ may not be very tradable because that is his team.
Right.
It just seems
he's the glue.
the piece
glue
that
guy.
holds everything together is Ian Happ. And you know, when all these youngsters have come through,
23,
the vets have moved on and stuff. It's like Ian Happ's been the guy that's kind of kept things together. Now, PCA is going to have to be the face if he's going to play at the level he's playing at right now. But you know, I'm just curious to see the thoughts there.
Yeah, that's it's an interesting point. I actually don't think Marvel's going anywhere. But, I mean, nobody knows because we have no idea what Bloom wants to do.
Right.
That's true.
And we've not had an interview with him at all.
Yeah.
Not us.
No, correct.
But, yeah,
I mean, we will if he wants to come on.
Hey, first one ever. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what's inside of his head or what he wants to do. He came
Correct.
from Boston where he inherited Cora and extended Cora, but that relationship also faltered because I know Bloom was the one who gave Devers the contract extension, but Devers hated Bloom, and they didn't get along at all.
Right.
And Cora talked about that as soon as he left in the whole field incident at the beginning of the season. Came from Tampa where they did have the same coach, but that coach was essentially an arm of the front office because he's so analytical. What's his name? I'm blanking on his name.
Are you talking current Kevin Cash?
Yeah, Kevin Cash. Thank you. So it's really hard to say. Marmel's a pretty,
Go with the flow.
and I don't know. I think he's a pretty analytical, player-minded first guy, and all of the players like him.
The funny thing is, you
St.
mentioned
Louis hates him,
correct,
but all of the players like him a lot.
see, they say that. I don't know. It's just so hard for me because a guy like Paul Goldschmidt has always been an elite player. You know, even though he's not been the most vocal guy, he's always been an elite player. And things just got really weird the last 2 years there in St. Louis. Since
Well, and I
he's been
think
there.
the handling of Wilson just speaks to a lot of that.
Well,
but some of
youngest
that is
manager
I
in the
think
league
that's also
a while.
right, and I think that's also a little where you got to look at Mo in that situation.
I don't disagree there.
Because I think he was trying to go beyond just being the president of baseball
I
operations.
can see that.
And
think so?
again, I think they've said it in interviews. Like they all sit down together and talk about game plans and
Well, I
things
think
like
every
that.
organization does
right.
that.
I don't think it's wrong, but I'm saying I think he's more vocal in that. Like I think we should do this. Like I think we should do this. And then Ollie, I think it is a product. He's a young first. This is his first managerial experience, and so he's trying to manage all of that tension where you have some veteran leadership that really could manage the team on their own when you talk about Goldie and Nato, even though they're not vocal, but you also have to inject this youth. You have to inject, some energy into this team, and that's where like a Mason Wynn and a Victor Scott come into play. And then you start to see some of these other guys like Donovan step up and take more of a leadership role. You're starting to see Burley try to insert himself as a leader in the clubhouse to a degree. It always fascinates me because you have what you would quote like people that you would want to, like the faces.
Yeah.
So when you look at like Newt Bar, like because of his quote unquote like stardom, if you will, outside of St. Louis, even in, the Japanese market.
Yep.
you would think that you would want him to be that leader in the clubhouse, and that's just not his personality.
Not
He
at all.
strikes me as a guy that is like the goofball and the fun guy of the clubhouse, and not that he's
Yeah.
not serious about baseball. I don't want to paint the picture like
Right,
he's the
right.
class clown,
Yep.
if you
Yeah.
will, but he's more of the I'm not necessarily going to rally everybody together with this, hey, let's figure this out, let's get it together. Now, and this is just speculation, but he is the one that'll come up and, let's bring everybody together. Like,
Yeah.
let's everybody go to Topgolf
So-
and have some fun.
So
You think that's Donnie? You think Donnie's the guy?
yeah,
I think,
do.
I think he's emerging
I think it's Donnie
in
and
that.
Willie.
Yeah, in that capacity. Right now, if I had to pin, I'm 100% agreement. I think Willie brings the emotion,
Yep.
and Donnie brings the charge of watching someone, because him and Goldie's relationship was really close while they
Sure.
were here, and he talks about learning from Goldie. Now, Goldie was not a vocal
Nope.
leader in that regard. Donnie is a little bit more vocal,
Sure.
and he also does it obviously by his work ethic and things like that, which Nato does the same. Like, if you were talking about a leader as far as work ethic, yeah, go watch Nato
100%.
all day long. He's just not going to be that vocal leader.
Yeah.
He's the lead by example, and not
Yes.
lead
Yeah,
by what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying type
Yeah.
of guy.
So-
which you kind of need all of these guys. For these,
100%.
the super
Yeah.
successful teams have those guys.
Right.
Well, the thing that I always talk about is the hidden stat, the hidden chemistry stat that you can't measure is what is the final piece that makes teams
Facts.
good. And the reason I say that is because you look at our team this year, and you're like, out of nowhere they're all clicking, and it's like, oh, they found that they found that stat, and they finally put it all together.
Yeah.
But the thing about Marmol, I'm not an apologist by any means, because I think he made some dumb decisions, and as a young manager, trusted his pitchers who were just bad,
Yep.
and throwing Wilson under the bus. And then the stuff with Tyler O'Neill, called him out kind of for no reason, even though O'Neill is not give it all, because he's
Yep.
going to get hurt if he does.
Correct. That's true.
And it's what he's doing right now.
Right.
But I think, the first season he ever managed was 2022, and he had
Yachty
Albert
and
Pujols come
yeah.
back out of nowhere,
Yep.
Yachty, Goldschmidt, Arenado, all
Right.
of these huge, larger-than-life MVP, they're all MVPs in some sort of way. You
True.
know? Yachty was like third or fourth MVP one year.
Yep.
Pujols, obviously.
Yeah.
Goldie won that year. The next year was just a trash dump.
Yep.
But he was given a team and a pitching staff that was just very 2007, and with a GM that has just kind of lost touch of where baseball has been
Agreed.
going. And so that year, man, that was just a dumpster fire.
Yep.
and I think that's honestly, again, I'm not an apologist for Marmol. I think that's more on Mo. I think he was stubborn and just like overrated all of our
Yeah.
pitchers. And the two, I don't know if this is a coaching thing or this is a, front office thing, but the shift got banned in 23.
Right.
And if you looked at the Cardinals in 22 and before, we had one of the best defenses ever, but we were the best defense in shift positions.
Right.
Shift got banned, and it's kind of like, and there was a report from Katie Wu that she talked about how
We didn't have range guys. We
Yes.
had good glove guys.
she asked, she was watching spring in 23, and she went to Marmol. She's like, hey, the shift is not around anymore. You guys going to be okay? Are you planning different? And he was like, oh yeah, we'll be fine. And they were horrific.
Right.
And that's partially why their pitchers were also bad. It's because their defense just
Yeah.
was atrocious. 24, the defense got way better. So that's probably on the coaching, I'm assuming. Placing players in the right positions.
It helps
defensively.
But that's when Wynn came up, who has unbelievable range.
right, that's
Correct.
true. Great
Donnie's
range.
playing second base way more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who is an elite defender, has range
Yeah.
there. And if the shift is banned, you have to have range at the middle infield.
Correct.
I think he pulls strings pretty well. But he is a young manager that still trusts his veterans, I think, a little too much, very Aaron Boone-like. But the thing that throws me, and this is why I'm not an apologist, and because him and I argue about this all the time, I think he doesn't rest players well. Because if you think about Goldie this year from last year, Goldie last year played like 156 games or something crazy.
Right.
And this year he's playing not part-time, but like he'll probably have 100 games,
Right.
90 to 100 games. And he is just blowing the cover off the ball.
Right.
But they're putting him out on the field after rest days.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of stat, I can't remember, I read it a few weeks ago. After he has 2 days off in a row, he always goes like 3 for 5 or something like that. Just like crazy. He's getting the rest that he needs because he's almost 40 years old. But Arenado is, and I mean, Nolan wanted to play the doubleheader the other day.
Right.
Like Marmol, there was a quote, Marmol wanted to set him for the second one, and Nolan was like, no, I want to go play. So I don't know what you do in that situation because you're a coach, but at the same time, like, dude, that's your best player.
There are pieces to that though. To maybe that is time. To Marmol's point, obviously they have played a little better this year. Maybe he is maturing. Maybe he's getting better as a head coach. But maybe it's time to move on from Nato because Nato may not look at him the same as some of these other guys do.
Right.
Like,
I'm going to do me.
He likes him a lot.
There's a difference between liking a guy
Well, if somebody lets you do what you want to do,
and
you
AJ
like 'em
Hinch or
pretty well.
somebody walking up and just saying, I know you want to play today in
But
this
you're not.
doubleheader, but you're not.
Right.
We may put you in as a DH or maybe we're going to pinch hit you, but you're not playing this game.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean,
because
could be, yeah.
we're on a stretch where we're going to play 25 games in 27 days. You need a break. You're 34 years old or something,
Right.
So this is Marmol's 4th season as head coach. How long has AJ Hinch been head coach?
AJ Hinch
Started in what,
let's see.
14? 13 or 14?
I'd have been a little later than that, right? Because it would probably been around.
In Houston?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a little earlier than that, I believe. And then obviously the fallout in Houston where they let
And he had
him
to sit
go.
for a year or something.
Right.
I mean, he's been around a while, but it's like
Diamondbacks 2009, 2010. The Astros 15 and 19.
Yeah,
15.
There,
There
you
you
go.
so I mean,
And that's when he started to take off. Was with Houston.
correct. It's hard to say. I mean, I've been a guy for a long time. I've said I didn't like Craig Counsell in Milwaukee. I thought Craig Counsell held that team back. Then he comes to my favorite team, and it's like our very first year with the guy.
Yeah.
We were the exact same record we were the year before, and it's like, well, maybe David Ross could have been that guy. But to the point, David Ross, I don't know if this team this year looks like we look if David Ross was still the coach.
Well,
And so is Marmol the piece that you're talking is the Schilt to Marmol is Marmol
I don't
Craig
like
Counsell?
Schilt either. I thought he was terrible. And I mean, San Diego's falling apart right now.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Because the difference is Schilt is a horrible bullpen manager.
Agreed.
He pulls such bad pieces just at bad times. Very Mike Matheny-like, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that's what
Marmol's
ultimately
a better
led to his
bullpen.
demise here.
Yes, I think Marmol's a better bullpen guy. I just don't think he has the greatest bullpen, and he hasn't since he started. Like if you think about our pitching staff since he began, it's like some of them are good, some of them are bad. Like you think about Helsley last year,
Yep.
had 54 saves.
Yeah,
It was high,
54. One of the best. I mean, they found a way to keep that dude healthy who was injured every year before
And you're talking a guy that was on a team that was just slightly above 500 last year. So I mean that's pretty impressive to have that many saves.
Yeah, he managed the bullpen last year
Sure.
like crazy.
he had to because
He did.
the pitching
The
staff
offense was just horrible.
absolutely not there.
And to your point, thinking about Counsell coming over, what he came over with, well, I guess it didn't last year, but this year brought a whole new coaching staff with him, and that's elevating it too.
Elevated.
So I think the manager, Trevor Plouffe says this all the time. He doesn't think a manager is that big of a deal. He says manager gets you like 2 or 3 wins a year. I disagree. I mean, I'm not a player, so he played for managers. I never did.
Yep.
But it's hard to underestimate leadership and coaching, in my opinion. Now, I know baseball managers are different than football coaches,
100%.
but the thing that is very we haven't talked about at all is St. Louis changed their coaching staff as a whole. Brought in a new outfield defense coach, brought in a new hitting coach, and those two things are top 10 in baseball for us.
I
So
don't know.
surrounded by good coaches.
To me, if I was in Bloom's shoes,
Mm-hmm.
I would start fresh. I would come in with a new coach next year. Maybe one of these guys you're speaking about steps into that role. But I think there's been enough adversity there in the locker room with Marmol that I would just move on from him. I don't know who that coach looks like, and who knows what coaches become available.
We know what coaches they are.
I feel bad for Bloom because he is going to be in a rock and a hard
very
place.
tough spot.
Very, very quickly, especially after the World Baseball Classic, if it goes down in the way I think it's going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, we all know which it's a decision between which two.
Yeah,
and it's going to be the hardest decision ever.
Right.
And you kind of feel bad for Marmol because I think he's a good coach, but it wouldn't surprise me either way. It wouldn't surprise me if he stays, but it wouldn't surprise me if he goes.
I don't know how long Marmol spent as like an assistant or something, but
he was a minor league coach for like a decade.
It would be perfect for that guy to go under one of these top tier guys, a Kevin Cash, an AJ Hinch, one of these guys for a year or two, then come into a perfect situation, because there's going to be some of these teams in Arizona or somebody like this, Minnesota, maybe they move on from Rocky. One of these teams that has players, and he just steps in and bam, he's got a great team.
I actually think he's a better front office guy.
Really, Marmol?
Yeah, Mo came out, I don't know, like 3 months ago, maybe towards the end of the season, they were asking him about why he so high on Marmol.
Yeah,
and he talked about, he's like, well, I thought he was going to be my farm director for the rest of his career, because that was his thing. He was really, really good and into developing young players and moving them up. For unforeseen whatever circumstances, Schilt got fired and he was the bench coach. I think he belongs in the front office because I think his mind is just that way.
Sure.
But I've never met him, so
correct.
Based on his field moves, and like, he's the kind of guy that he's like, okay, my boss told me this is the job I got to do this way. Last year, hey, we need to win.
Yep.
So we're gonna make these pieces so Victor Scott doesn't play through it, Walker doesn't play through it. Hey, this year these kids got to play.
Yep.
They're all playing through it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, and to that piece, if he was great at developing young talent, maybe that was the problem with Goldschmidt and some of these guys. There was no development to be had there. It's like, I mean, this guy is a perennial all-star. He's probably been in the top 5 in voting probably at least 5 or 6 times for MVP. Nato, even if you like the guy, like I said, I just think it's hard for them to look at a guy that's around his same age who is coming in with 0 coaching experience versus a guy that's won 10 Gold Gloves, somewhere around there, 6-time All-Star, 7-time All-Star, maybe higher than that. Like, you can have respect for a guy, but also still sometimes get yourself in trouble.
I see your point. My only argument would be, then we need to move on. Pujols came in 22, and at the end of the season, cannot stop talking about how good of a coach that Marmol was.
Yeah, but he was also really high on Juan Yepes too. So how much Yepes?
No, Pujols was high.
Pujols was, and
he talked about
so how much that was just caught up in being part of the moment.
One of the reasons we hired Brent Brown is because Brown was with LA when Pujols came over and helped him get back on track. I think, to what we were talking about earlier, Pujols has a lot of pull in that organization, and he. First-year manager managed all those MVP players, and
that's tough.
We were supposed to win the World Series that year, but Helsley.
I don't disagree with you. I was shocked.
Marmol decided to not pull Helsley early.
Right.
I guess I'm knocking back on my point. Anyway,
could it ever be the first co-manager position where Yachty and
dude, you know that's not going to work. With
I know it's not going to work.
Cow.
But how fun would it be just to see that in the dugout, both Pujols and Yachty standing side by side just and trying to make these
Spanish
decisions.
and English going back and forth.
The umpire's like, you two need to calm down in your dugout. Quit yelling at each other.
It's like
it'll be the major league thing.
And they were like, which one?
Right.
Which one?
It'd be the major league thing where they're all fighting each other in the dugout, not the 100%. Other team.
Oh, I love that movie. I'm gonna watch that again. Let me segue because we gotta wrap this up because we're just going. The other thing I want to talk about, I think it'd be really fun. Let's just go to the local side for this segment. I wanted to break down the upcoming series because our teams are seeing each other for the first time. We've played our interdivisional league rivals twice before we ever saw the Cubs.
That's so weird.
And I think you guys have played the White Sox twice.
We've at least played them once. I can't remember.
We
if
played the
them.
White
I think
Sox
we've played them twice. Actually,
We played the White Sox before we saw the Cubs.
Yeah,
that's wild. But it's going to get made up by the end of the season, I think, with the final series that both our teams play against each other.
That is the one piece that I do hate about when we did make the shift was I feel like I wish that there were 2 extra games that these big time rivals got to play each other. Because I mean, obviously the Rockies and whoever, no one cares about that. But the Cubs, Cardinals, Yankees, Red Sox, the Giants and Dodgers, like these things mattered.
100%.
And it's like as much as everyone hated watching 18 games of the Cubs play the Pirates and the Cardinals and whatever, everyone loved watching every series the Cubs and Cardinals played each other. It didn't matter how many times they played each other. They could have played each other for 162. The
Mets
fans would have showed out for
now.
every.
Yeah.
I think about the London series that happened 23.
Yeah, I hated it because it's like that already wasted another series.
Wasted 2 games,
Right.
I thought it'd be fun to break down our expected what we think's going to happen. There's only currently, so we play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have a 4-gamer.
Yep.
There is only a slated pitching matchup for the first game so far. Both teams don't have any pitchers. But I do know for a 85-90% fact, McGreevy is supposed to pitch Tuesday or Wednesday.
Wednesday is what they're saying.
Wednesday, okay.
Yeah. So this is what it looks like, at least projected as of now.
Yeah, throw it.
Would be Libby versus Brown.
No, I have Palante versus Brown on MLB app.
So I'm going off of Fangraphs.
Oh.
So it would
I have
be
Libby versus Brown as well.
Yeah. And then you would have Fetty versus Talion.
Yep.
McGreevy versus
it
Boyd.
is. What am I doing?
Which I think will be a very intriguing matchup there. And then Palante versus Imanaga. And so because they did that whole
He's
Sonny
back?
Gray skit.
He is going to be back for the series.
Yeah, so
But
that's
he's
the
going to be
one.
on pitch count, right?
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be the interesting game because you have Palante and him going at it. So
Yep.
that's going to be, unless Palante is really on his game, you're looking at maybe 4 to 5 innings from both of those guys.
Well, and so here's the piece that gets real interesting with the Cubs. So they've had several pitchers that have had points during the year where they look really strong from starters, and they've had some games where it's like this guy needs to be DFA'd tomorrow.
You mean so just MLB pitch?
Yeah, and so, but the one guy I'm really intrigued to see what they're doing with is Cade Horton because he stepped in with when Imanaga went down, and for the most part has actually pitched pretty well. Comparatively to the rest of the team. So, he's had a couple of games where they've left him in an inning too long, which Browns run into the same thing. But with that piece, to me, I think we should leave him in the top 5 in that lineup because he's outpitched a couple of these veterans.
Yeah.
Is that the lefty or that went 2 days ago?
No.
You're thinking the lefty, is that Boyd you're thinking of?
Boyd, yeah. Which Boyd,
I mean, he's been pretty good. Seattle hit him for 2.
Yeah, Boyd got hit a little bit, but he also tweaked something in that game. I don't know how bad it is.
Yeah,
that ball that got hit right back up the middle at him.
What a
He
catch.
caught it, but it hurt him in the
was-
long run.
Yeah, that was
the twist that he had to
that
make
makes
to
me
make
think
sure
of
to
that
catch
Milwaukee Ribolowski or whatever.
Yeah.
When he twisted his ankle.
Yes.
He had 5 shutout innings, no hit.
Well, and then he comes out in his next one, almost has the same,
Correct.
he didn't hurt himself, but
Yeah.
almost has the same thing. And then gives up a 2-run blast.
He gave up a 2-run homer.
Yeah.
Poor kid.
It's
But that was
speed.
it. But I
Yeah.
mean, he's still lights out. Like, I mean, he's legit
Hit me
right
with
now.
the matchups one more time. Brown, Libertor. Who's
Fetty,
Tuesday? Yeah.
Italian, McGreevy,
Tyone.
Boyd. Yeah, Tyone. That's right.
Yeah, and McGreevy and Boyd. Okay.
Yeah, and then Palante, Imanaga
Let's
is
do
at
this.
least scheduled.
Before we jump into the things that we're looking for, out of the 4 pitching matchups, who's got the upper hand?
Neither one of us.
I was going to say that's a tough one. I mean, to me, the first game, it depends on what Libby we get
100% agree.
because he does counter the lefties in the lineup
Yep.
for the Cubs a
Hap's
little
gonna
bit.
destroy him though, man.
Well, Hap destroys us in general.
He
so,
does.
like, that's not
We'll get to that in a minute.
right. That's that's nothing new.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think if we get the early season Libby back, I would give him the nod over Brown, not because Brown's been bad, but it's to Michael's point earlier. You just make him throw a lot of pitches, and if he stays in just a little too long, it erupts in that point. And so I think it's one of those things. Counsell is going to have to be on his toes, and is he willing to go to the bullpen that early in the season, that quick, or in the series?
Well,
that quickly?
in this 4-game series could be big down the stretch of the year. Because right now Cubs are like 4.5 up, depending on how the Cardinals
both lost today.
So I think we're still sitting at 4.5 games.
Yeah, 4.5, 5 games.
So we're talking. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but if a sweep happens here, all of a sudden you guys are a half game back in this division. Or Milwaukee's leading the division. I think Milwaukee has the same record as you guys do.
No, they
win today.
It off
so
today,
there you go.
So
Milwaukee
they're
maybe
3.5
leading the division,
of us.
but the last series of the year, like we've talked, Cubs Cardinals again. If we're talking, a 3-game, between the two teams, that's gonna be electric.
That's gonna be amazing. I'm excited about it.
Right.
We're so far away.
I said, for so long, like it's fun to make fun of the Cardinals, but at the same time, it is good for baseball for the Cubs and Cardinals both to be good.
100%.
And it's kind of annoying and kind of boring to watch the Cardinals or the Cubs be bad, because then when these games come around, it's like they're probably gonna be competitive, but they're not gonna matter at the end of the year.
And it's like they've never been good at the same time very often.
No,
you know what I mean? It's like the Cardinals went on a run and the Cubs were kind of Then the Cubs got into their window, and that's the Cardinals started falling off. And now we're both kind of like,
we may be getting into a window. We don't know.
Right.
Yeah, we don't know. 22, we came out of nowhere and we're like, whoa.
Yep.
And then the Cubs were just mid until Counsell came around.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to the pitching matchup. So Brown and Liberatore, you guys give it to Libby if he shows.
If Libby doesn't look like he has the last 2 or 3 starts, I would say he definitely should be the favorite in that matchup.
So that one is a 50-50 to me. I'm curious what you guys think of Tyone versus Fetty.
Well, Fetty, per you guys' podcast last week, Fetty has been pitching, he's got like a 2 ERA or something.
Yeah.
But he's not getting any run support.
Right.
And as a Cubs fan, I can fully relate. Kyle Hendricks, and Tim, I think you made a comment. I was actually out mowing my yard while I was listening to the pod from last week. And I was laughing because you're like, there's no way that it continues like this, right? But for Kyle Hendricks, it was like that for like 5 years.
Yep.
Didn't matter.
Right.
Dude's out here got like a 2.5 ERA, but he only has 10 wins on the year because the team doesn't actually show up in the games he's playing, and they give him 1 round of support. So, Fetty's not giving up runs. This Cubs offense has been electric.
Yes.
It is very hot outside. Those balls are going to be flying more than usual in Busch. We will see what happens. That could mean a guy like Burleson, who has been hitting better for you guys, may get a hold of some pitching and send them deep. Not so worried about Nolan Gorman because but I want to lean into Tyone a little bit on this just because I think the Cubs offense is going to give him more support than Fetty.
I really feel like it could be a 4-2 game,
100%.
5-2 game that the Cubs edge out just because of that nature. The only thing that right now give me excitement with the Cardinals, and Tim, you and I have talked about this quite a bit, is there is no give in them. I don't care if it's the 8th inning and you're down by 4 runs. Somehow it's like they manage to, more often than not, at least bring the tying run to the plate, if not tie the game up. And it's like, well, I don't know how long you can live that way, but...
So that's going to go to my main point. Let's finish the rotation. I'm going to give it to Tyone because we don't give run support to Fetty.
Yeah.
And also, Tyone is 6-2 against us.
I actually didn't realize he was that good against Cards.
We blew him up last year, one start, and we play. Let's see, how many starts did he have in 24? 1, 2, 3, 4. We blew him up 1 game, and I was at that game, and I was like, because there was a Cubs fan sitting next to me. I was like, what happened? And he got hurt, and he got pulled early.
Right. Yep.
We just exploded on him. But his other 4, he just dominated us.
Well, he's been so weird ever since the Cubs even acquired him. He went from... He looked like he shouldn't even be out there on the mound when in the first year they had him out there. Then all of a sudden, he looks like one of the best pitchers in baseball. And so he just goes through ebbs and flows like that.
That game. It was 23 May. He had a 13.5.
Yeah, he was horrendous. It was like,
Right.
we just signed this guy to like a 4-year deal. What are we doing?
His last game against us was last year. What is the eighth month? August.
August, yeah.
He had a 1.5 ERA against us. So,
Well, I want to say
man.
late last year, he was or middle part of last year,
Yeah.
he was really hot through that stretch of the year.
I give that one to Tyone.
Yep.
Boyd versus McGreevy. I think I'm going to give to McGreevy personally.
I haven't seen enough from McGreevy. I'm going to go Boyd just because I trust him more. Just I've seen enough out of him. Outside of a couple games here or there, he's been pretty solid most of this year. And as you guys saw on that line drive, the guy's got a set. So
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah,
He
you know,
stood in
so,
there. I'm not going to give that. To me, like, this game, I think, is going to be the pitching duel.
Yep.
Right there. I think that's the game. Temperatures will come to, it'll still be hot in St. Louis, but the heat index is going to come down on that Wednesday game. And so the evening, I think you're not going to have some of the balls flying quite the way that they've been. The dead ball will come back a little bit. And I think this is where
It's supposed to storm on Wednesday.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Barf.
But I think this is McGreevy's breakout game.
Could be.
Like, I think this is where he just shows the Cardinals, like,
What's a breakout? Because
like,
he's had some.
I'm not talking strikeouts. I'm just talking about what he is
Like
doing, commanding the zone. He's going to shut hitters down. It may
a
be
complete
like
game?
yeah, I think he goes deep, like 7,
Wow.
maybe 8 innings, because he's just commanding the ball well. The ball's staying on the ground type of deal. And now, again, no disrespect to Boyd, because that's why I say I think this is going to be the or the pitching matchup here, because I think this legitimately might be one of those old school rivalry,
Love it.
like 2-1 pitching matchup games.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to give the edge to McGreevy because that's my boy, and I want to see him in this starting rotation consistently. And so that's what I'm
So,
seeing there.
I do agree with you on the low scoring game. We don't hit lefties very well at all.
Right.
We don't slug against lefties.
Yep.
We pepper the ball against them, but
Yep.
I don't know, man. Our lefties can't hit lefties.
Well, the problem,
Except for Burley right now.
yeah.
and it's been great as a Cubs fan to watch this offense go just nuts this year. I was actually surprised to see that the Cubs actually had given up less runs than anyone else in the division.
Right.
Because it's like our pitching's not been good. So how bad has everyone else has been? But I do look at that. The Cubs have been very similar to late game situations. They've just been having Carson Kelly early in the year, and then now Ian Happ's starting to find his form again, coming into a series that he has been a crusher of the Cardinals over the years. You got one of my favorite Cardinals crushers in Wilson Contreras on your team. He just always seemed to come up with a massive hit versus you guys. So I hope he doesn't do the opposite.
He does. He's
series
actually got
too.
a pretty incredible record the last 2 years against the Cubs.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to
It's
watch.
better in Wrigley against the Cubs, though, which I think's hilarious.
Yep.
Right. Because he feeds off of the
He
fan
does.
energy.
Yeah, very
He
much
does.
so.
He's a super high vibes guy. Like
Yes.
the vibes matter to that guy, and it will
He
change how he
wants to
plays.
be
big time.
booed. He wants, like, that feeds that man.
Although he's starting to slump really bad right now, so I'm curious how it carries over. Like, is it the slump going to continue, or is the vibes change the whole thing?
Right. Well, playing the
Because of who
Cubs
it
does
is.
it change
Right,
things?
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
So then we have Imanaga versus Palante. This is tough, but I got to give it to Imanaga because we cannot see him at all.
Yep.
Like, we've played him 3 times or 4 times.
Like Brian said, this is going to be a short start for him. So I'm looking maybe 3 at most
that's
4
true.
innings out of this guy.
Yeah.
But maybe we keep Cade Horton up. Does he come in and all of a sudden you've got a guy that he could go 3 or 4 innings himself on the backside of that. Palante, I know earlier in the year you guys thought maybe he had some upside. I just don't see him as that guy. I think that he's a guy that a PCA, a Kyle Tucker and stuff are going to go off on.
Yeah, it's going to be the 1 inning.
Yep.
Like, he's still really, really good with the reverse splits, which is odd in the sense of he can still pitch to lefties somewhat well.
That's because his fastball cuts.
Right. But he's just had this problematic 1 inning, and I think that's gonna what is ultimately gonna bite him.
And
in this game.
that's where Marmol's going to have to make a move, in my
Right.
opinion, because the Cubs couldn't go 6 runs like that on the Cardinals in one inning if you allow Kyle Tucker, Dansby Swanson, PCA, and these guys to just get into that rhythm.
Here's the thing, and this makes me segue about the hitters we're watching. Nico Horner is terrifying against the Hornets.
Yeah, 100%.
He has an 1800 OPS against Palante.
Right.
That's
unreal.
That's unreal.
Right.
He has a 500 average against Helsley.
Yeah.
Swanson has a 500 average against Maton and a 571 against Helsley. So the thing I was going to say, I'm actually not concerned about PCA. I don't think he's going to hit very well. I don't think he's going to slug very well because our ballpark is really big. And he's such a poolside homer guy. Now it's hot. The humidity is going to...
I could see him getting 1, maybe 2.
I could see him doing doubles and triples in our ballpark.
Oh, yeah. I see a couple triples potentially.
I don't think the
series.
home run's going to be there, but I'm terrified of Nico Horner and Swanson. And Ian Happ.
I will say, I mean, I don't have the data in front of me on how far all of his home runs have gone, but he's got power. PCA, I mean, he's gotten into some of these balls. And it's not just some wall scrapers. He's put some balls off the scoreboard down there, 15, 20 feet up in the air. And so that thing's still going to travel a good ways. To your point, the Cubs could run like crazy in this series as well. But the Cardinals could do the same if they're finding those gaps. If some of these youngsters are going up there, not worrying about the home runs, things like that, just finding gaps. Yeah, they could do the same thing. It's going to be a very fun, interesting series. You got 2 teams with very good defenses. Pitching's very shaky.
Yes.
Hitting, I would give that to the Cubs. Just their offense.
I agree. Yeah,
but that's undeniable.
Nobody's going to argue that point.
So
it's interesting. Your starting pitchers are going to be big in this series.
Yes.
They're going to have to go deep.
That's why I think it's if you get the right Libby.
Yep.
And if McGreevy has his run, Fetty's game, I think, will be close.
Yep.
It's just we don't score for him, and I think that's going to be the interesting thing. I think, for me, the guy that I'm watching from the Cardinals' perspective is what's the opportunity for Sagasi, because the Cubs haven't really gotten an opportunity to see him a lot.
Well, he'll definitely play Wednesday and Thursday.
Right, that's what I mean. But does he get an opportunity to play?
Tyon's a righty, right?
Yes, he's a righty. So, but it'll be one of those where it'll be interesting to see if he gets another opportunity like a DH, because Walker's struggling right now, and we've seen that they're willing to put Burley in place of Walker in right field, so it opens up an opportunity in the DH hole.
I'm going to throw a couple numbers, and then we'll kind of figure out what the record is. So I looked at our pitching ERAs between the 2 teams, and it's actually interesting because I think it's funny that you said what you said, but the Cubs' bullpen is 8th and the eighth best in
They've
baseball.
Been electric since
bullpen's been great.
Yep.
They're starting the St. Louis's bullpen is the 16th at a 3.97. But if you think about 1 to 30, obviously that number looks bad.
Yep.
But a 3.3 to a 3.9 is not terribly far.
Not terrible. Less than a run a game.
We are an even starting pitching ERA at a 3.96. We're 15th and 16th.
That checks out. I'm actually surprised it's that high, to be honest with you. I'm surprised it's not higher.
Well, this is total season, so the beginning of the season probably, especially for us, our starting pitching in May was just insane.
Yep, true.
And
Libby really helped you guys out early in the year.
It's been since.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a battle of the offenses because who can knock the starter out? I mean, that's the classic baseball, right? Get the starter out. But our bullpen is toast right now.
Sure.
Because of the amount of games we had to play. We had a doubleheader. It's hot.
Yep.
And they just sent Granillo down, recalled Graceffo today.
And I imagine he's probably not staying, although he threw 2 today.
Yeah.
He's not going to play tomorrow.
Their arms are not fresh at all.
Sure.
Our best reliever is giving up bombs like crazy in Leahy. Helsley's fastball is getting hit right now, and that's against teams that don't hit his fastball, and your team destroyed his fastball when it was at its best.
Yeah.
So, okay, which bullpen's going to fall first?
Well,
is what I think it's going
to be. To your credit, the good news for you guys is the Cubs bullpen over the last week has not been as strong.
Yeah.
They've actually been getting hit quite a bit over the last week. So
I watched that game with Presley, and I was like, "What happened?"
well, it's one of those. He's been electric, just
like a
great
month straight of
for
no
like a
run?
month, and then just got hammered. And it's like the same thing happened today. It was like the game was right in hand. Guy comes just back in the 8th inning and just gives up 5 runs. It's like, all right, well, this game's
Here we
over.
go.
It's
Right.
like that meme that's like it's March or April or whatever, and it's like I hate this team,
Yep.
man. They bring a reliever out, he throws
Right.
the game. I hate this team.
But that's why I think game 1 is going to be so critical for either team.
Yeah.
If you make that team get into their bullpen in game 1 of a 4-game series, it sets the tone to put yourself in the driver's seat all the way.
Because we don't have that Tigers luxury for either one of our teams where
Right.
we're like, oh, we'll throw a bullpen game, no problem. And then they
right.
come out, guy only throws 5 innings, but their bullpen still destroys you the next day. Like, we're in trouble if we get into bullpen
That's
games.
what I just think it's
Like
gonna,
you might see Burley on the mound for us
Correct.
again if that game gets out of hand tomorrow night.
I mean, if you look at the standings and the statistics, the Cubs are by far the better team on paper completely.
Yeah.
It's all about how they match up when they meet. And we're in such an interesting spot because you guys, what's the last 10 record?
We've been like 5-5. We may be 4-6 or 6-4. I can't remember.
They're hovering around
We got
500.
Milwaukee for 2 out of 3. So
You're 5-5 and
Yeah.
we're 6-4. We both lost today.
Right. It's like setting up for the perfect fight.
It is,
Correct.
dude. It's crazy. The Cardinals are really good in the 8th and 9th innings. So I looked this up the other day. I told him we have one of the best OPSs in baseball, 8th inning or later.
that's a good time to have it.
So like
First inning matters and the last 2 innings matter.
The comebacks
Problem is
for
our
some
first
reason,
inning is
and we
not good.
play behind
Right.
more so than
Any-
in front. And our pitchers are such ground ball pitchers, so you
Right.
put something through. There's a gap. I think the Cardinals take 3 out of 4.
Ooh, you're a brave man.
Yeah.
I think we lose the tie-own game.
I would love nothing more.
Well, yeah, obviously, but
But
I'm just looking at the state of the bullpens, the state of the offense. Now, you guys have more slug. If you can hit enough home runs and we can't catch up, that's going to be the only
Correct.
way you beat us, in my opinion. Unless Helsley pitches every game, and then we're toast.
this is going to sound like the cake thing, but I honestly think we're in no different shape after this series. I think it's a split 2-2.
2-2.
And I think the July 4th weekend series becomes the pivotal series
Yep.
in Wrigley.
Well, we'll see each
see
other
that.
2 more times after that.
Yeah,
right?
but I think to start to create separation one way or close the gap one way or the other, because these 4-game series, they become tricky in that regard. Now again, the Cardinals fans speaking would love nothing more than a 4-game sweep, and all of a sudden we are talking about,
well, and then he
hey,
would
we're
love a
at
4-game sweep and put us
right,
another 8
put
games
us
back.
exactly. That's that goes without saying.
Yeah.
But I think with the Heat, I think with the way things are setting up for this initial opening series of the year between these two teams, I honestly I can't get around a split, and I think honestly both teams would be happy with that.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Especially because both teams have some guys that can run. Find a gap, whatever.
You guys are better base runners, though.
That's-
overall,
admit.
yes. Overall,
I would say we probably have
Scott's
more
not getting on
guys
base right
Yes.
now.
that could run, but that may not be a factor because these dudes are going to get worn out.
Right.
Because we went from it was 70 degrees every day
right.
to all of a sudden it is 95 degrees and
like
extremely
110.
humid. Like,
Yeah.
I can tell you, working outside 2 weeks ago didn't feel too bad. Working outside yesterday, I was out there in the early morning, 2 hours. I was toast.
Right.
So, and those guys, they're playing on a climate that is much hotter than
Right, right.
It is
Right.
unbelievable how hot it is down on that field.
especially
So,
on the field, no shade, nothing.
no wind.
Right.
Now, fortunately, all the games outside of Thursday are in the evening, so
Yes.
that does help a little bit.
Dude,
But
the sun's lasting until like 9 o'clock.
Yeah, and they get AC in the dugouts and stuff,
Yeah.
going down.
It
but
really
it's still
matters
hot.
more for the pitchers.
Yes.
Like, I mean, you're not going to see Gray which is good for us because the Cubs destroy him. And he doesn't pitch well when he's sweating, which is like why you play the game.
that's
of
why you pitch so
baseball.
well up in
Right.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
That's why they're holding off till he gets to Cleveland to put him
it's
back
just
on
like
the mound.
our bullpen is so toast right now.
Yeah.
But which offense is going to be better?
Yeah.
The only thing is the Cardinals are have a 700 winning percentage at Busch Stadium.
Sure.
If we were playing Wrigley, I wouldn't give you the same record. But what do you got?
Yeah, no. I'm a lot like Brian. I see a 2-2 split.
2-2, okay.
Could see it flipping either way on a 3-4. It's hard to say. Like I said, I don't love either one of our starters because most of these games
Sounds
are
like
up.
us.
They're all mid.
Most of them are up in the air, so you don't know
Right.
what you're going to get. Like I said, a couple starts ago, Ben Brown went toe-to-toe with Skubal, and it's like, but then his next start, he got absolutely shelled in like the 5th inning, and it's like, the Cardinals are going to have to take advantage of him late in his start because that has been Council's one bad point on some of these starters is he's not pulling them early enough, and it's like that third time through the lineup or whatever that may be, he's got to be more in tune with that because and since May the Cubs bullpen has been pretty much nails outside of the last week and a half.
Yeah.
But if you don't go to that and all of a sudden you're down 5 runs,
it's a different game, right?
the Cubs offense can score that type of runs, but you don't want to have to do that every
That's
game.
all right. Just bring Leahy in and then Steven Matz, and they're good for 5
The
runs.
thing is, the Cardinals don't have to face Hendricks anymore.
That helps
true.
us for sure because
Yeah,
we could not hit that guy to save our lives.
I saw him as a piece. They said, could you see some playoff contender randomly bring in Kyle Hendricks as just a random starter to throw on the backside of their
And it's like Game 7 of World
rotation.
Series
It's-
against the Cardinals, and Hendricks comes out to
You're
pitch, and it's
right.
over.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no.
I would say go trade for him just to put him on our
Correct.
roster so we don't have
Send
to
him down to
For real.
AAA.
hit
Like,
him. Right. Just you're not going to play,
will not
but
be
you're going to
playing
be
you.
on our roster.
So you guys both got a split.
I have
3 out
have
of 4
a
for the
split.
Cardinals.
Like I said, I could see a 3 or 4 either direction. I don't think anybody's sweeping anybody.
I don't either.
Because I
don't
think
see us
I
the
don't see
Cubs
a
could
sweep
come out, take
scenario.
3 games, and then just basically coast in Game 4. I could see the same from the Cardinals.
Who's going to have the most home runs? That'd be my last question.
I'm gonna go.
It's
Cubs.
not our team.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Cubs.
I think it's
on
a
that.
clean sweep
And
there. I mean,
Are you
like,
looking for a
though.
player?
Yeah, player.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Ian Happ. He's been hammering this last week. Let's
Yep.
see. I want to say he had
Brian
4
is
home
secretly
runs.
just like,
four
don't
home
like-
runs.
I don't like
this
him.
last
I mean,
week.
Just because he's a Cub, I would take him on my team in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like, dude's a baller. I love it. Like, there are few players from the Cubs roster that I actually like. Rizzo was one,
yeah,
and Ian Happ is another. Obviously, Willie because he's here now.
Correct.
Like, I mean,
we love Willie.
but like most of the time, I'm like, I don't care about any of them.
I
Like
should've
PCA, I'd be like, you know what, dude? I don't care if you end up leading the Major League Baseball in all-time home runs.
Sure,
I don't like you.
That's
so,
fair.
So move on.
that's fair. To be honest with you, I when I was younger, I liked Yadier Molina more than the later he got into his career. After about his point when he hit about 30, I really started to dislike him. Respect him as a player,
Yeah.
but he
Right.
was the guy in the Cardinals
Right.
just got under my skin. Like, I can't stand this guy.
Yeah.
He's a jerk. Like,
PCA does that for me.
I
I'm not
can
gonna
imagine.
lie.
Yeah,
100%
yeah.
could see that
I mean,
all
it's
day.
just it is what it is.
You've got a
Like,
couple guys out there. It's like, you can't dislike this guy. Like,
right,
come
right.
on,
Like
now. He's just
Dansby
such a-
Swanson, like dude's a quality guy.
Yeah,
like could really play for anybody, and I'm not going to necessarily root against him.
I 100%.
Yeah, like
That's when the Cubs got Kyle Tucker. Like, he was probably my favorite non-Cub,
Yeah.
just floating out there in the league.
Right.
When his name was even being
Ironically,
mentioned, I was
he
like,
is not good against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not worried about it.
yeah, he didn't see you guys enough. He's going to
and
start
this,
going
well,
off.
and this is going to
Ian
be the
Happ's going to
fun.
make up for all of it.
Right, this is
100%.
going to be the fun to see. He's going to get a taste of what it means
Yeah.
to be in a Cubs
100%.
Cardinals series. Like that's some of the fun of this because
Correct.
there's a lot of respect on both sides.
Yep.
But there's that vitriol that's like, look, it's just the Cubs coming to town, and so
Oh, it's going to be sold out.
Well, and
Right.
Houston
Every
didn't
game.
have anybody like that.
no,
Like,
Not
even
during
when
his tenure.
Texas was on their run in 23, like, it's like, okay, Houston runs Texas, and Texas was good 1 year. The rest of the time, like,
right, exactly.
the Cardinals, Cubs, doesn't matter. Every year, It is going to be a dogfight every
Dude,
series.
it really is. Like, even when we're both bad,
Yeah.
these games are just like exhausting.
100%.
It's just like back and forth, back and forth.
There's years that the Cubs and Cardinals have been bad, both teams,
Right.
and they're still getting that Sunday night game.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like it's the
It's
Cubs
just-
and Cardinals.
right.
Like, okay,
true.
we
it's
could
going to
get
be a battle or it's going to be a fight.
correct.
Like, I mean, you
and it
don't
may be
know.
both. It may be both.
The other one that sticks out to me, the Cardinals, when they play the Yankees, it just turns into like a football score every game.
Every
and it's
time.
like both teams forget how to pitch.
Right.
And it's just like meatball, and everybody's just hitting home runs like
Right.
crazy. But I remember last year, every Cubs game was just like, oh my gosh, this is emotionally exhausting.
And then it's like you start to get a lead in the game, and then all of a sudden, then the other
Right.
team
Yep,
gets 3
right
runs.
back.
It's like,
I'm just
Everybody
waiting,
answers
Correct.
every time.
waiting for something to drop. You're
And
like,
that's
oh,
why
there it is.
I think our offenses this year is really important because of the 8th, 9th inning, because when Helsley comes out there, he's blowing. Like, Swanson might not be a good hitter, but he just sees Helsley's fastball like it's like 50 miles an hour.
right. Well, and
And it's just like, oh my God.
in the last 2 months, Dansby's batting average has been steadily climbing too.
Really?
His
I'm kind of
offensive
curious
prowess
if you're
has been
looking
bad.
at one player from the Cardinals, who is that guy that you think could wreck this series?
Wilson?
No, I'm going to say it's Lars Nootbaar.
Okay.
You
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he can't. He's the guy that it doesn't matter lefty righty. If he
Fair.
gets back to that early, like again, he's struggling, and we've seen signs where he's starting to get things right.
Yep.
So I think he's the guy that like.
Dude, you guys got me excited.
If he comes out swinging, he's a guy that can hit for power.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then against the lefties, he can just slap it.
Well, I
Yep.
was going to say I could see the Cubs leaving Ben Brown in too long. Homer.
Right.
I can see Tyone stays in an inning too long. Homer. And
Right.
it's like Nootbaar may take off
Right.
after this
It could
series.
be
I could see that.
It could be like it could be like the big dumper situation where
Correct.
it's
Yeah.
just he runs into the right pitcher at the right moment,
100%.
and he's just because he can, especially right now, Nootbaar's batting 6th, 7th in the lineup. He's getting better pitches. He doesn't have to be as selective
Yep.
as he does at the top of the lineup. And so he can run into a few. And so he's like the one that I would say would be like that idea, like could click and really wreck this series for the Cubs. I mean, obviously the names of Willie and, Nato, if those guys wake up,
Sure.
I don't anticipate Nato being that guy in
Yep.
this series because he just hasn't been that this year.
Yep.
The only other guy that I could see right now would be Burleson just because of how hot he is. And he is hitting both lefties
agree.
and righties.
It's pretty,
this
yeah, it's
point.
disgusting.
When I
And you're
look
just like, what?
obviously I'm going to pick Ian Happ for home runs, but if
Yeah.
there's going to be someone that wrecks this series, and I'm so glad you said his name earlier, is Nico Horner. The guy
It's ridiculous.
is, and it's every year, and that was the thing that I hated all the trade talk around him this last year, because I'm like, this dude is just a very consistent batter. He doesn't have quite the power that some of these other guys does,
Right.
but he's always a guy that's going to hit 270 plus. He always comes through with RBIs when you need him. And it's like he does have a couple clutch home runs under his belt and stuff, but he's also a Gold Glover at second base. And it's
Yeah.
like
The key with him is he doesn't strike out.
He does
so the
not
ball's gonna
strike
get in
out.
Play, and I don't know if you know it, but our pitching staff is a contact.
is a huge contact. So I'm so excited
Yeah.
about this.
It's like the Jays just walked all over us because
Yep.
they don't strike out, and that's why he's a pest. Like
right.
he's hitting 400 against Michaelis, and the at bat number is high. He's
wish
had
we were-
tons.
I
and
wish
tons of
Miles
at-bats
Michaelis was
against him.
pitching in this series.
And so
We need some batting
Horner's
practice.
going to be one of those guys where you get through 3, 4, 5, and you're like,
glad he
finally,
pitched
and then
today.
he shows up, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right.
We're 20 pitches deep, and it's still Nico Horner.
Right.
He is a guy that you could definitely see. Obviously, he's not got the flash of PCA, but he is a guy that you could see hit 2 or 3 triples in this series this weekend
PCA
because
is
you're not
triple.
ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to go in the corner.
Yep.
And it's just going to get stuck there. And you got Burley in right field, who is
Yep.
not the fleet of foot guy. It's going to take him an extra 10 steps to get over there and get it.
And it's going to be at a big time, too,
So-
because there's going to be
And
a
he's
runner
gonna
on the
try
back.
to bunt, too.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just all of that. And
So-
to that same point, like another guy I want to watch, and we can wrap it up with this, is Sagasi. If he gets
Yeah.
the playing time, because he strikes me as that type of
100%.
player, but
Okay.
with a little bit more pop in
Yep.
his bat.
Last true question, I promise. Between Scott and Armstrong, who's going to have the most stolen bases in this series?
Well, that's actually a fair question. So the Cubs, I don't think had a stolen base last week, and they had one stolen base last week. And PCA got thrown out one time.
Whoa!
I know.
Is that his first throw out?
He's probably been caught a couple times this year.
Who's got the faster sprint speed between the two?
I feel like Victor Scott actually has just hit him by a
Higher
second.
speed,
but if you look game speed, PCA is
quick.
unbelievable.
He is very, very quick.
I'll give it to PCA just because I feel like this is going to be his first truly electric Cubs Cardinals series. Like, he's played last year, obviously, but this one's going to actually really matter for both of these teams.
Where's he batting right now? Top of the lineup still?
Yeah, so he's been batting around the 4-hole. Let me see where they slotted him in today. Got to go look way down here.
No, the reason why I asked that is I kind of tend to agree.
Yeah,
One,
4.
because our catching situation, although with Herrera not being behind the plate because he's injured, that really does help us out against a speedier
Holy
team.
smokes.
But I would give PCA the nod as well, just because of plate appearance opportunities as well. He's going to have more opportunities, in my opinion, to garner that steal.
Agreed.
He's going to be in a better situation because, like, if he leads off an inning and he gets on, he's going.
So my thing is, I think Scott's going to have more just because Pete's bat's better and his ability to just get a single.
Yeah.
He doesn't walk at all.
Nope.
And he's going to hit a double.
Yep.
And triples. Scott's going to barely get stuff.
Fair
in a
enough.
single.
A bunt single.
Well, a bunt single or like blooper into the outfield.
Right.
And he's just struggling right now, but he's only getting caught once and he's got 21 steals and he runs pretty quickly on the base.
I would really love to watch a Victor Scott bunt and Matt Shaw making the play because that's going to be a bang play. Matt Shaw has been electric.
It's been
since
fun
he's
to
been
watch
back
him.
up.
I told you he was my pick for NL Rookie of the Year, and I'm glad they brought him back up and he's starting to turn the corner. I just hope he doesn't turn the corner here in this series.
I get that. No, the PCA piece, if he gets on, I think you're right. He's just going to have more opportunities to make this.
Totally. I just think his bat's going to keep him from first base.
I
could see that.
I could see that too.
Right.
But I could also see him taking third base on you too.
Just because. Right.
Yeah.
Nico Horner is batting 2 spots behind him. Michael Busch is batting 1 spot behind him. Like, these are both RBI heavy guys.
Yeah.
So
lazy fly ball all of a sudden becomes an RBI.
I'll be the homer and it's fine.
That's fair.
That's fine.
That's obviously I am too.
I'm just a realist.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We are obviously, you can tell, excited about this series. I think we got to figure out what game we're going to still, but let us know in the comments. Leave some comments and everything, and we'll see you guys next week.